Hello and welcome to my latest workshop. Why does social anxiety affect so many sensitive people and what can you do about it? My name is Lucretia. I am so excited to have your company today. Thank you for joining me. Today is a donation-based workshop, so please pay what you can using the link below just underneath this video. All right, today we're going to talk about sensitivity and why social anxiety affects so many sensitive people. I'm a sensitive person just like you, and the knowledge I'm going to share with you today is knowledge that I have learned throughout my journey as I have learned how to trust myself and reduce my levels of anxiety right down. So now I've reached a point in my life when I only feel anxiety, usually if there is a very good reason for it. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert psychologist or anything like that. What I am saying is I'm going to share with you today some of the insights I've gained in my life that have helped me to navigate my anxiety and my journey as a highly sensitive person. And all the things I'm talking to you about today are things that I teach my clients who are also very sensitive, and they get some great results. All right, let's begin. I want to start by covering how sensitive people move through the world and how they sense and experience the world, because this really helps as the first step to help you understand what's going on. Now, sensitive people, what I often tell clients is the story of the kitchen sponge. Bear with me here. Now, I want you to visualize a kitchen sponge when you've just brought it home. It's clean, it's fresh, it's not dirty, it's not weighed down with water, it feels quite light. And then what happens when you put that sponge into the sink that night to clean the dirty dishes? It becomes full of water. It gets heavy. And then over time, with continued use, eventually that sponge gets heavier, gets dirtier. Even if you wring it out and you rinse it, it just gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. And sometimes it even starts to fall apart. Now, why am I even giving you this little story of the poor little kitchen sponge? Well, when you're a sensitive person, when you move through the world, you actually have the capacity to absorb the world around you in ways that the average person doesn't. You are absorbing the energy, which, yes, can mean emotions of the people around you, and you're also absorbing the energy of place and space around you as well. Now, every sensitive person is slightly different because, hey, guess what? We're all unique human beings. But there are these common threads that run through all of us sensitive people, that we are really sensitive, of course, to the world around us. And we do have this capacity to absorb it if we don't have good boundaries. And I'm not talking specifically about psychological boundaries here. That's not what I'm talking about at all, although they can help you. What I'm talking about is energetic boundaries that can help you to buffer out the world around you, which is obviously a really helpful skill to have. And second of all, there are tips and tricks and strategies you can use to help you clear off any energy that you pick up when you're out in the world. Because as a sensitive person, locking yourself away and hiding from the world is not what we need you to be doing, because you have very unique gifts and we need you to be out in the world doing what it is that you are here to do and not hiding away because it all feels too much. And I get it, it feels overwhelming, but there are ways to help you manage that. And it's really important that you learn what they are and you learn the best strategies that work for you so you can get out there and live the expansive, beautiful, creative life that you're meant to be leading. So, a kitchen sponge. Really important to keep this in your mind, and it really does help you to understand why you are so affected by the world around you. And it also helps you to understand, and I really want to drive this home, is that you are not the only one who feels this way. There are lots and lots and lots of people in the world who feel the world in a very hypersensitive way and are very different to the average way that human beings operate. So you're not alone, you are unique and honestly fabulous, but it is important that you understand this about yourself, because this is one of the reasons why you are maybe experiencing social anxiety. Because when you are being constantly buffeted and pushed around by this energy of the world around you, that has very real impacts on your mental health, and it can also have very real impacts on your physical health as well. From a mental health perspective, when you are experiencing that kind of throwing around and pushing around from that energy, that can lead to things like anxiety. It can lead to things like overwhelm, depression, and you know what? Yeah, even physical ailments. And if you have gut issues and you're a sensitive person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know what? I can put my hand up for that too. That has definitely been me in the past as well. Okay, so one of the reasons that sensitive people are affected so frequently by social anxiety and by anxiety in general is because you are a sponge and you haven't yet learned the skills you need to learn to help you to manage that in a more effective way for yourself and in a way that works for you. All right, that's number one. Okay, number two. And this actually probably will sound really obvious when I start talking about it, but your mind may not have made the leap yet to get there. Is the anxiety you're feeling, the emotions you are feeling, do they actually even belong to you? Because if we expand on the previous point I was making, that you are a sponge and you're absorbing the world around you, and if you haven't learned that you need to have some boundaries for that and manage it, etc., for yourself yet, you're absorbing all this stuff. You have this capacity, which is, by the way, an absolute gift, but it's a gift to be managed, so it doesn't drive you mad. But it is a gift to be able to walk into a room and to sometimes feel what people in that room are feeling. And so my question is, when you are experiencing that high level of anxiety, when you are out and about around other people or thinking about it and you're around other people, my question is the anxiety you're feeling actually even yours? Because in the lead up to going out, you're probably worrying about how you felt before and what the emotions and all the overwhelm you are worried that you will feel. Okay, get that. Very reasonable, understandable response to the fear of what's happened before. But once you step out into that world and you're around other people and you know you have this capacity to feel and experience what other people are feeling, how do you know that you haven't absorbed their anxiety and now you're identifying it as your own? And the reason, like, this does happen. Trust me, because it has happened to me. And I'll give you a little story that will illustrate it for you. When I was a teenager, I would cry all the time, like over really not much at all, it would seem. Well, certainly nothing logical. I would cry a lot at school, and I was known for it all the way through high school. Now, yes, I was a highly strung child, and yes, I had perfectionist tendencies, and yes, I had some esteem issues and a bunch of other things that I was working through. But when I look back now on the levels of anxiety that I was experiencing, knowing myself now, knowing how sensitive I am now, because by the way, no one had ever talked to me about that when I was a teenager. Like, that wasn't even a thing that was discussed. But when I look back now, what I strongly suspect was happening was not only was I feeling my own anxiety and my own stress about the world around me and how to navigate it as a teenager, but what I strongly suspect now is that I was also picking up the emotions of a lot of the other kids around me. And then I was feeling it, and it was being added to my own humongous ball of anxiety inside of me. And that made things so much worse. And the crying resulted because I didn't have any way to express how I felt, because I didn't feel safe to do that for a whole range of reasons. So when I look back, I can see that now because I know so much more about how sensitivity works for me, how I experience the world, and how easy it is to absorb other people's stuff and then misidentify it as being my own. So I really want to encourage you to sit with this and to ask yourself, okay, could this be happening for you when you are around outside with even just one other person? It doesn't even need to be a group. But if you have this capacity to experience and feel what other people are feeling around you, is it possible that the anxiety you are feeling is not just your anxiety, but also theirs as well, and it's being put together, and that makes things so much harder for you to manage? Like I said, this has definitely been part of my journey and my experience, and I think it's really important. I feel so strongly it's important that we understand this could be happening to us, and then we identify ways to buffer this experience and to just create ourselves a little bit of space so that we're not overwhelmed by other people's emotions all the time. So we don't take it on as easily. And that enables us to then manage our own emotions and our own anxiety much more easily. Now, I do have a tip for you around how you can begin to do this. Now, it's probably not going to be a surprise to you, or maybe it is, that one of the keys that I've found for managing these kinds of situations is really to start checking in with myself at a really deep, intuitive, inner knowing level to work out what the heck is going on. Now, your inner knowing, your intuition is something that you already have access to, but you may not be using it because, let's face it, we're not exactly taught to trust ourselves a lot in society as a whole. It's just not something that's often encouraged. Instead, we are encouraged to spend most of our time up here thinking things through, which doesn't really help us, and I'll get into that in another video, okay? But what I would recommend that you start to do, if you feel like you might be absorbing other people's stuff and misidentifying it as your own, I want you to start asking yourself, when you feel that emotion coming up, when you're out and about, I want you to ask yourself, is this mine or someone else's? And if the answer comes instinctively, intuitively from within you, it's someone else's. In that moment, I want you to say to yourself, okay, I'm letting that go. I'm releasing it. And over time, this will get easier for you. Now, there might be a part of you saying, but hang on, Lucretia, if someone's feeling that way, then I need to know who it's coming from and what's going on. And so, because I might be able to help that person. No. At this point in your journey, that's not important. And honestly, when I'm walking through the world, if I'm in a crowd and I start to pick that up, I ask myself this question, is it mine or someone else's? And if it's someone else's, I go, okay, I'm releasing that now. I'm choosing to let that go, and I let it go, because you cannot carry all of this inside of you, and it's not your job to leap in to save other people or to make other people feel better. That's actually not your job to do. And this brings me to my next point around people pleasing. This is the third thing we're going to cover today. All right, people pleasing. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little bit hot here. A lot of sensitive people that I know, in fact, yeah, an awful lot of them, are also people pleasers or former people pleasers. Now, being a people pleaser, like I said, I know a lot of people who have this going on or have had it going on. It's very common. And why is it particularly common for sensitive people, and how is that affecting your anxiety? All right. So first of all, just being a woman, just being raised from girlhood into womanhood in Western society often encourages the people-pleasing pattern, because it is part of the patriarchal narrative that girls and women need to be pleasing, to not be disruptive, to not do things that other people don't like, to not upset other people. This is a common narrative that we've been raised in. And if you are someone who is already very sensitive to how other people are feeling, and you've also got this people-pleasing layer on top of it, as a result, you're going to be sensing into what's going on for other people and then trying to mold your actions and what you do to make sure that they are looked after and to make sure that they are comfortable. Because you can often sense what's going on for them, and you have this people-pleasing thing. You're like, okay, well, I need to do this so that they're more comfortable, etc. And the problem with this approach is, people-pleasing is not a healthy life choice for anybody. And I will stick by that. I said what I said. People-pleasing is not a healthy life choice for anyone, and it's not a healthy life choice for you. Because when you do this, it means that you are not necessarily living in alignment with your truth, because you are bending and molding yourself to fit other people. And that probably means, and inevitably means, that you are not checking in with what is right for you. So, how does this connect to your social anxiety and anxiety in general? Okay, first thing, if you are going out into the world all the time and you are conditioned to be people-pleasing and to not upset other people, then what's going to happen is you are moving through the world in a constant state of hypervigilance, because you want to make sure that everyone else is happy all the time, even if it's at your own expense. And because no one can control what someone else is going to do, there is never going to be any guarantee that any action you take will create the result you want, which is to keep this other person happy. I mean, your brain might do some calculations and think it through and strategize, etc. Of course, and based on probabilities, maybe your actions might result in X. But because human beings are by nature contrary, the actions you take may not bring about the result that you are hoping for. And your efforts to people please in and of themselves are exhausting to you and creating this high level of anxiousness in you, because you are worrying that you might offend someone or upset someone. Now, like I said, even just existing as a girl and as a woman in our society creates people-pleasing patterns. And it's something that I continue to unravel. Just when I think that I have got to the bottom of it, no, it comes up and bites me again. I'm like, I thought I dealt with this. It's so deeply embedded in the stories that we've been told and now the stories that we tell ourselves. So I get it. This is not easy. Okay? So the first thing is, this may be creating more anxiety for you because you're worried about delivering on this people-pleasing pattern for the people around you. It's not healthy for you. It's not going to get you a life where you feel calm or you feel stable in yourself, which is what we want, right? That's what I want for you. I want you to get to a point in your life where you feel grounded in your physical self on the earthly plane that you're living on. But when we're people pleasing, it makes it incredibly difficult for us to do that. And I will also mention here that if you've been raised in a household where perhaps it's been a volatile household, where you have felt like you've walked on eggshells, because if you did the wrong thing, there's going to be a very negative outcome for you or someone else in the family unit. This can also feed into those people-pleasing tendencies, because you're trying to hold it all down to make sure that nothing goes pear-shaped, that those negative consequences are avoided as much as possible. And I get that. But it's important to understand that this people-pleasing, A, is not a healthy life choice for you, and B, it is highly likely that it is contributing to your anxiety levels, because you're trying to keep everyone else happy all the time and to fit into some kind of mold or model that you think other people will find acceptable. And we can't control what anyone else is going to think or say. So trying to do that is basically an impossible task. And I want to just flag for you right now that that never means that there is anything wrong with you. Because sometimes you might get that message that if you don't fit into a certain mold, that there's something wrong with you, because you should be like this. And I'm here to say no. That's not your job either. You're not here to fit into a package that someone else finds acceptable. You are here, my darling, to grow into and expand into the person that you have always been meant to be, and to create the life that you love. That's what you're here to do. And that does not mean being perfect, and it doesn't mean fitting in to other people's rules. And this is the last thing I want to say about anxiety in general, and this is because of my experience, is that in the periods when I have experienced really high levels of anxiety, not so much something I have now, but in the past, when I experienced those high levels of anxiety and I didn't always know even why I was feeling that way, often it was because that was my inner knowing and my body saying, hey, you're going the wrong way. You're not being truthful with yourself about what you really want. You're trying to mold yourself onto a path that, it's not for you. And you're making decisions in this way because you're worried that if you make another decision that might be more truthful for you, that if you do that, you will have to create upheaval in your own life and other people's lives, and let's just keep it all nailed down instead. I wasn't going to share that story with you today, but it feels like it's right to say it. So when your anxiety comes up, sometimes that might be what's going on. Your inner self is saying, hey, nah, it's time to get real with yourself, sister, and to stop hiding from what your truth is. It's time to step into alignment. Okay, how are you all feeling? I've given you a lot of information in quite a short period of time today, and I hope you found it really helpful. Like I said earlier, when I talk about these topics, it's because I've lived it, I've experienced it, I've walked through it, and one of my goals is to always help people to have a little bit less of an arduous journey than I did. We all have challenges in life, and you are going to have yours, I have mine, and I can't prevent challenges necessarily, but I can definitely help to shine a light on what's going on to help your path feel have a little bit more ease and grace on it. That's what I wish for you anyway. I hope that today's video has been helpful. Maybe it's given you a few insights about what might be going on for you as a sensitive person. If you feel like you could benefit from some more focused work in this area, if you would like to talk about mentoring with me, there's an email address underneath this video. Please send me a message. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if I'm the right person to help you and if we're a good fit to work together. Anyway, until next time, take care, and always remember that your sensitivity is a gift to be managed, and it is here as a beautiful extra skill set that you have to help you create a life you truly love. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.